Guys, when you guys are building a custom home, you should have high expectations. You should have those expectations of how the building experience is going to go. But it's also important to understand that not everything is going to go perfect. Like this sound that I have in the background. There's a truck sitting on the road as I'm trying to record this, and it's not perfect, but it is what it is. But one of the important things to achieve that high expectation of a great experience is communication and understanding what snags could happen. And that's really what we want to talk about today, is that the fact that construction itself is not perfect. Things are handmade. Your house is handmade by people. Most of the things that are going to go in are installed by human hands, and there is, with human hands, becomes obviously human error sometimes and imperfection, and it's really important to understand where you should and can expect absolute perfection, and where there are some leniencies, where there can be some imperfection, and understanding that throughout the process, not only with the finished product but also with the building experience on its own. Now, the one thing that I always say is that when you're building a custom house, you're building a prototype. And when you put it that way in your mind, it kind of reframes the whole process for you, for both the material and the process standpoint. Like, your house has never been built before, and it likely is not going to get built again. So you're building a prototype that's going to have its own challenges. That's going to, maybe some things are thought about ahead of time, and maybe some things just come up that either weren't expected or weren't thought about, and those things just happen. And you have to understand that when you're building a prototype, those things happen. You don't get to figure out all those kinks before you build the house. You're doing it as a team together, and it's important to think about it and frame it in your mind that way. Like I said, there's lots of people involved, and that can be challenging in two ways. Number one is, like I already mentioned, the finished product and the material that's used and whatnot. But the other thing is a scheduling aspect. Because there's so many people involved, you have to understand that sometimes there may be delays, sometimes there may be miscommunication, etc., etc., etc. Your builders should do everything in their power to mitigate those things, but at the end of the day, they can happen, and it's important to understand that right from the beginning. And there's things that are going to happen that are outside of your control and are outside of your builder's control, or outside of everybody's control. That can be everything from delays, that can be material price increases, that can be changes in bylaws or regulations from when you initially sat down with your builder to when permits are pulled, and that could have an impact on your home, on your design, on your price. But those things are out of your control. And so I like to think of it as adding in a mental contingency. Have that. Everyone has a budget contingency in their brain, right? Every builder has some contingency built in, and then you as the client, you have some contingencies built in your brain also. We'll also put in mental contingencies for these types of things, like delays, things that can just come up that are unexpected. If you can bake in those contingencies, it will just make your experience that much better, because it's a little more relaxed, it's more stress-free, which makes the whole experience that much better. And then the last thing I'll say is that work as a team with your builder. Your builder's already working as a team with his staff, with their sub trades, with their suppliers, and you need to be part of that team. And don't think about things like they're building for you. Don't think about it as you versus them. It's a team thing. It's a house that you are going to be living in for years and years to come, and you want that final product to be what you expect or better. And in order to accomplish that, it has to be a team game, a team environment, so that everybody feels that sense of togetherness, I guess we will say, so that the success of the project can happen. So houses are made by hand. Remember that. Remember that things happen. Remember that not everything is within your control, or your builder's control, or even your sub-trades control. And then also just remember to to work as a team. So if you keep those things in mind, your experience will be better, and it will help with those expectations of building your home. If you're interested in sitting down with us to talk about how we mitigate some of these things, I would love nothing more than to do that. So if that's the case, get in touch and I'd be more than happy to chat. Have a good one.